And we got Neil Magny taking on Ian Garry here. And short notice fight. Ian Garry was supposed to fight Jeff Neal, and Jeff Neal ended up having to pull out. So in steps Neil Magny, and this was the guy that Ian Garry originally called out, and then Neil Magny accepted the call out and called out Ian Garry on the mic. So both these guys have been in the octagon asking to fight each other, and they both got their wish. So it's a big fight for both guys. I mean, obviously, when you see Neil Magny, anytime someone beats Neil Magny, I mean, they're a top 5 guy. I mean, that's kind of how it works. It seems like recently Magny's definitely started to slow down. Like he, in my opinion, back in the day would have dominated a guy like Phil Rowe. He went to split decision. He would have dominated a guy like Max Griffin and went to split decision. So he's still being able to beat these guys that he's always historically beaten, but the fights are becoming closer and closer, and that does, to me, signify Magny slowing down a little bit. And he still is a guy, though, that when you have Neil Magny across from you and you could beat him, then you become stamped as one of the best in the world. And Ian Garry, 25 years old, former Cage Warriors champion, and kind of brings that same brashness that you see from a lot of these UK guys where they're talking a lot of shit and they're trying to build themselves up in the media. And you see Ian Garry talk about how, which I think is kind of like delusional, but I mean, you got to talk yourself up, I guess. But he said like he's the only reason why people are going to wake up to watch this card. He's the biggest star on the card and all that. But, man, I mean, you got to say what you got to say to build yourself up, right? But Ian Garry is a big deal. He does have fans, and, he's someone that's extremely talented. So you kind of got to take away any disdain you have for his trash talk or his cockiness when you're breaking him down away and just look at the skills. But, when you're looking at how these two guys match up in the line, I feel like it's kind of a dog or pass, but I wouldn't be interested in betting Magny on short notice when I think he's kind of slowing down. If this fight were a couple years ago, I think Magny would be a great underdog pick. But now I feel like he's not going to be quite as good as he used to be. And I still think he has some things that could pose issues to Garry. Like, Ian Garry, to me, is an amazing striker. Like, the guy has great ability to strike off the back foot. He has great feints. He pulls guys into shots. He does a great job creating angles, not getting stuck against the cage. And when he does end up on the cage, he can land, make you miss, and get off. His head kick is really what you have to look out for. I believe he has like 6 or 7 knockouts, and all but one of them have came from the head kick. So that head kick is really his money shot. His hands, I don't think, have necessarily crazy knockout power, but he can land clean. He's very fast, sharp, and he just has great footwork. He's long, and he can kind of beat guys up from a distance and really keep them at bay, out-volume them. And if they get wild and you don't see that head kick coming, he can land it and knock them out and send them home, earlier than they expected. And Ian Garry is also a good grappler. Like, he's strong in the clinch. He can hit takedowns. He seems like he has a good top game. And in this fight, maybe a submission bet on Garry is a decent play because the odds are going to be good, and the majority of Neil Magny's losses are via submission. Ian Garry does train with those Kill Cliff guys, and you look at a lot of those Kill Cliff guys, they've been able to beat Neil Magny, and they've been able to beat him in a similar fashion. They've all kind of submitted him as well. So I feel like Ian Garry may have had a camp here where we're going to see him use a lot more wrestling and try to submit Neil. Actually, now that I'm saying that, I'm thinking about it, it's like he didn't really have a camp for Neil Magny. He had a camp for Jeff Neal. So I'm actually not honestly sure about that. But I think that could be a path to victory, him actually submitting Neil Magny with a front choke or some sort of submission. We haven't really seen too much of Ian Garry's grappling game, but could show itself here. But Ian Garry's had bad moments. Like, you've seen him get dropped against Kenan Song. We've seen where he got controlled in certain fights. He got taken down in certain fights against low-level guys that Neil Magny is a way better wrestler than, way better control fighter than. So if Neil can actually get the pressure going, get Ian against the cage, start holding him against the cage, start taking his back, we could see, Ian Garry on upset alert. But I just feel like I said, I think Neil Magny, his cardio is even going from what I've seen. I think his cardio used to be a cardio machine, and he still is, but I think he's even getting tired in fights. I feel like he isn't quite as fast. His wrestling and grappling isn't quite as sharp as it used to be. And I just feel like Ian Garry is a very skilled guy. I think he's someone that could potentially work his way into a title picture with the right matchups and with the right development. So I think he's going to be able to get past the Neil Magny hump. It's just at that line, can you justify it after seeing some of Ian Garry's performances were shaky against opponents that are not even close to Neil Magny's level? I don't really think so. So that's why I said it's a dog or pass, but also not interested in Neil Magny just because of what I've seen from his recent performances. So give me Ian Garry, and I'll say he actually wins via second round submission. You'll drop him and submit him. But yeah, I think this is kind of a pass for me.